Hi everyone, this is Trisha and welcome to my channel. So today I'm just going to be doing a regular video. I know that I had my series, Can I Arrange That? But I decided to skip over on that for a little bit because I wanted to do another project. I have been seeing on Pinterest and also on YouTube creating a wreath. It's called a nested egg wreath or an egg nest wreath. I'm not really sure which of the two names is being used, but it's something like that. And they're using a egg-shaped wire wreath form that I believe they were purchasing at the Dollar Tree. Now, I don't know if this is an old idea or not, or if this is from this year, so maybe that's why I didn't find the shape. So I'm going to go ahead and do it in a round wire form and for my wreath. So this is what I created. This is my version of the egg nest wreath, if you will. All right, so if you want to find out how I made this, it's super easy. Keep on watching. So let's get to crafting. I'm going to start off with two of these round wire wreath forms. These are 14 inches in diameter. Now, I like the color that I happen to find mine in. They usually have them in black. I found this really nice kind of a gold tone to them. Now, if you don't like the color, you don't want them in black, you can spray paint them. So just take them outdoors, give them a nice light spraying, let them dry, and then you can go on to the next step. All right, so I'm going to take one of my wire wreaths and I'm going to turn it around so that I have the indentation going inward like that rather than coming outward. So this will be how I'm going to lay it first. Now I'm going to put some moss in here, but I don't want it spilling out the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some felt. And now you don't have to do this part. You can just go ahead and put on your moss however you want on there. But I'm going to go ahead and add some felt. So I'm just going to cut probably 2 pieces because this isn't wide enough. Of course, if you have a piece that's wide enough, perfect. Or if you have a piece of poster board, you can trace the circle of your wreath and the inside as well, and then cut that out so that you'll have 2 poster wedges to go, or just 1 poster wedge to go in there. Okay, so let me do the first one, and I'm just going to roughly cut it. I'm not going to be perfect about it. All right, so I've cut around the outside, and now I want it to be the inside. So I'm just going in a little bit more narrow than, you know, the width of this. All right, so we want this right in there. So now I'm just going to cut another piece from this one here to fit this little spot. So once I'm done, I'll be back. Now I'm just going to add some glue and some spots here and there on the wire so that I can glue down the felt pieces. I already added some glue right here, so I'm going to continue until I've got it all down. All the way around. All right, so now that I've got all the felt glued onto the wire part here, now you can go from behind and add a little bit more to make sure it's all nice and secure. You know, this is all going to be the back of your wreath, so, you know, you're not going to see that. So if you want to go in there and do that in some spots here and there, that would be a good idea. Okay, so now we're going to turn it around. Of course, you would wait till it's all dry before you turn it around, but I'll do it. Go ahead and do that. And we're going to take our moss, and because I've made a nice little bed here, I have a place now for my moss to sit. See how all these little bits of moss go everywhere? So you don't want it doing that when it's hanging on the wall. I mean, it probably still will lose some of it, but you know, we're gonna try and keep it from happening way too much. Okay, so I'm spreading out the moss a little bit, but I don't want to break it too much because I don't really want to see too much of the white. I don't mind it. You could, you know, use a felt or some other fabric that is the color of your moss, and then you don't have to worry about it. Okay, and as you can see here, I'm also adding some glue and pressing down that moss onto the felt. That's another way to keep that on there and from moving around, especially when I lift it up to hang it. I don't want it to kind of like slide down. All right, so I'm going to continue doing that and filling this up with as much moss as I feel necessary. And there we go. Now I'm going to be using some little eggs. Now, if you're going to be using, you know, like the life-size eggs or like those, you know, those plastic Easter eggs, then you might want to consider the amount of moss that you're putting in there that your egg will fit also, because then we're going to put another one of these wire forms on top and we're going to sandwich everything between those. So you want to make sure that you don't put like way too much moss to cause too much bulk in there. And then if you have some little bald spots here and there, I mean, you could cover those up with the eggs. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish this up and I shall be back. Okay, so I've already finished adding all the moss and I've glued it down to the felt, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to go anywhere. Another thing you could do if you don't want to use hot glue, you could take some floral wire and just get one of the ends and then wrap it around onto the, you know, the inside of the wire right here, right on the inside here. Just, you know, get it on there and then take the paddle and wrap it around however tightly you want around the whole circumference of the wreath. You know, just wrap it around till you get to the other end, cut it, and then just tie it onto that other little end. And then all this wire will hold down the moss so that you don't have to use hot glue if you don't want to waste that. Or, you know, sometimes, you know, it's hard to find glue. You run out of it and there you are running around to the store just to get some more hot glue sticks. Okay, but I think this will hold really well. I could do both. I could do hot glue and the wire, but I think this is going to hold really well. I did initially think, okay, I'm going to go ahead and use the wire anyway, because then I can get the little eggs to glue onto the little wires. But now I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, no, I think this will be fine. I'm going to go ahead and just glue the eggs down onto the moss and some of them onto the felt, because I can see like little ball spots and I can just move the moss around. Okay, so before I do glue them on, I'm going to put them inside the area here of my wreath. And what I want to do is I kind of want to separate, because some of them are this green, some are like a gray, and some are a tan, and there's some that have a little more of a golden color to them than the tan. But oh, and then there's a yellow. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I don't have too many like these two not next to each other. So of course I'd want to put some other color in there to break it up. I also don't want all the large ones all together. So I'm just going to create some sort of a pattern, and I'm just putting them on here for now, just kind of randomly. And then I will move them around as I see fit and leave some little spots here and there for some little bits of leaves and some little flowers. Okay, so I'll be back once I've organized this the way that I want it. All right, so I'm okay with my pattern. I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm overthinking where each little egg should go, but of course you'll place yours however you want. I'm adding some glue to the little eggs here, and I'm kind of making a little space there and then gluing them down. I've already done that to these here just to make sure that my idea was going to work. So all I'm doing is making a little wedge or a little nest there, a little space, sticking the egg right in there so it also sticks to the felt, not just the moss. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to go all the way around and glue them down. Now you could just glue some to each other. There you go, just like that one. I glued it down next to this one. And do them a little different. Don't try to make them all, you know, don't try to make it all too patterny. You know, maybe make a little bundle of 3 and then one by itself and so forth. All right, so I have finished gluing all the eggs. Turn this around so we can make sure that they are all glued on there, and yes, they are. So now I'm going to add some little flowers and some little leaves between some of these. All right, so I've got these little bunches here with some greenery. So what I'm going to do is I am going to just cut small little pieces like that, little stems of leaves, maybe even some single leaves like that. And I'm going to cut them as I need them. I don't want to cut too many. I'm going to cut this little tip here because something is missing from that. All right, so I'm just going to add a little bit of glue. And this is why I was saying, like, if you feel like you're using too much hot glue doing this project, you can wire down the moss. All right. Like if you decide that you don't need to put the felt. So that's all I'm going to do, is I'm going to put greenery around And of course, as you saw, cut them into little small bits and then place them in the wreath there. And add as much as you want or as little as you want, but remember, don't add too much that you create too much of a bulk and then you can't enclose it with the other wreath. So you might want to be taking your other wreath, I have it right here, and testing it ever so often just to make sure you're not crushing a flower or a leaf. So first I'm going to add all these little leaves and then we'll add in some little flowers. Alright, so now I want to add some little flowers, and I have some leftovers here from some stems that I bought from the Dollar Tree. I have some more here, and then I also have this blue right here that I could use. Of course, you get your flowers from wherever you want, but you want to get something small. And again, we're going to test this out and put these little flowers in here and just make sure they're not going to get too crushed. There, that'd be good. Okay. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put like maybe a little cluster of 2 and 1 and so forth as I go around my wreath. Right here. Okay, I think that looks really pretty. And now I want to add the blue ones, so I'm going to do the same thing where I'm just going to, actually these I'm going to cut them off, because if I pull them off, I'm just pulling off the little petal part. So I want that little bit of green in the middle. So these I'm going to cut them instead of pulling them off like I did the other one. And again, place them wherever you like. And I'm just going to cut them as I need them. I don't want to cut too many. Alright, so I finished adding all the little flowers. We'll turn it over again just to make sure that none of them are falling off. Well, they're all glued on there very well. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the other wreath in order to form that cage. Alright, so now we're going to be using our floral wire, and I'm just going to cut little pieces. I'm actually going to turn this upside down. Alright. And then I'll bring the wire through both inner rings, and then go ahead and twist the ends of that piece of wire that you've cut. Now, I'm not going to do it like super tight. There is about maybe 3/4 inch kind of opening between these two rings here. There's an opening right here. They're not like pulled tight together. Okay? They're not going to sandwich up against each other. Okay, so I want to go ahead and, I think I need to go get some pliers to also twist that and push it inward. All right, so let me go ahead and get one on the other side over here. I think it needs to be a little bit longer. Okay, do the opposite side here. And I'm going to make sure that when I twist them, the wire is up over here, which is why I wanted to turn them around so that I could twist and I could see what I was doing. Okay, so now I can just go ahead and bend the ends into the moss, and then I'll do this side and this side, but you know, it'll keep this together, but it's not squishing down on my, and just these two pieces of wire already are like really like, look, see that it's holding it together really well. So I know I'm not going to need to use too many pieces of wire. Now, if you see any of your little flowers getting crushed, move the little petals around so they're poking through between the, you know, the wires rather than getting crushed. There we go. Just go like that. All right, that's good. So I'm going to go ahead and finish wiring it, and then I'll add a few of them on the outside as well. All right, so I've gone ahead and I've already wired the inside. I've got two, you know, one here and here, and one here and one here, and that's holding it up pretty good. Now I'm noticing in the outer edge, it does, the two wires do meet each other, and I don't really need to put too many wire pieces again on the outside either, just like I didn't do that on the inside. But I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and add wire, even though it feels like I don't have to. But I'm going to go ahead and do that. I can trim this. I wanted to get my wires to grab these little ends and push them inward. I don't want them sticking out this way because this is the back of the wreath, and I don't want, you know, when I hang it on a wall or a door, for the little ends of wire to be sticking out and scratching my wall or door, depending, you know, where it's going to get hung. Okay, so I'll just go around and add little bits of wire, and I already lost where I placed the other little wire, you guys. Okay, here it is. I found it. It's right here. So I'll do one on the opposite end. And then I'll decide, like, well, where do I want to hang it from? Because, you know, this wreath looks fine from wherever I hold it from. It, you know, the top, there's no real top or bottom to it. So I'm going to create that. So I think that holds it up pretty good. Okay, I don't think I need to wire it anymore. Now you can wire it down more if you feel like it, but look at that. I think that looks really pretty. I like the little moss kind of sticking out the edges. Now I thought about maybe adding, I had some nautical rope here. Let me go ahead and bring it out. I was thinking about using this nautical rope. I have this one in this color, and I have the natural, you know, this is a cotton one. And then I have the other one. I thought about gluing this on the outer edge, and that does look really pretty. Look at that. So I don't know, maybe if you want to do that, but I'm kind of liking it without. So let me go ahead and continue on to the next little couple of steps, and then I'll decide if I do want to add that or not. I have this little wooden Farm Fresh. I got these from the Dollar Tree. It came in another little package with a couple of extra little signs. I was initially thinking that I was going to paint it, but I really like the natural color. I think it looks really well with, you know, the design of this. And I also want to add a little bow here. So like I said, it doesn't really have any like top or bottom, so you just decide where you want it. I'm just going to go ahead and decide this is my top. Actually, I'm going to move it a little bit right here. This is my top because I feel like there's a little space there. Okay, so I'm going to put a little tail of ribbon. So I'll cut off that first, just because, you know, I already know how long I want it. And then I'm going to make some cuts here to give it a dovetail ends on it. This is a burlap ribbon with some lace. I did get this also from the Dollar Tree some time ago, and I used a little bit at a time, and I still had some left over, so that's why I have it like this. All right, so then I'm just going to make a regular bow and get some wire. I also want to cut another piece of wire to put on the back for a little loop where I can hang this from. Okay, and then I'm going to put these little tails on it. Yep, that'll go. And wire it all down. There's different ways you could put your little bow together. So that's up to you how you want to make your little bow. Okay, so now I feel like the little tails kind of want to go this way. So now I'm going to take that wire because it's still long enough, and then I'm going to wrap it around the wire on here. And just, you could glue it down, of course, but I'm going to wire it down. Now, you could do this for Easter. Do it very Eastery. Use some Easter eggs instead of the little eggs that I did, if you want to use, you know, like little pastel colors. But I kind of felt that I wanted to have this hanging in the kitchen, you know, a longer time beyond. So I wanted to make it more, you know, countrified, more rustic, or whatever you want to call it. I am going to add a little bit of glue just so it doesn't dangle around or move around too much. Just like that. And then I'm going to put this. Now I'm looking at it right now and I'm thinking, well, in hindsight, maybe I didn't want to add so many flowers because I'm kind of lost my eggs in there. So you think about it when you're doing yours. If you're using these little tiny eggs, maybe don't use too many flowers. I feel like I put too many, but I really like the way it looks, you guys. Look at that. It says Farm Fresh right on it. It's such a pretty little wreath. All I have to do is put some wire back here so that I can hang it from, or if you're using a wire, you know, one of those wreath hangers, of course, you could just, you know, hook up right here. Since, you know, it's separate, you know, the two pieces here are separate, there's room in there for one of those things to hook on there, or a little tack or whatever you have to hang it on. All right. All right, everyone, as you saw, I had that rope, which I could have glued around the edges, but after looking at it a bit, I really like the simplicity of it and the way that it looks. Now, if you want to add a little bit more volume, or maybe you feel like it needs to be a little more finished, then go ahead and add that, maybe some ruffled lace around the edge. would be really pretty. Fanning out on the outside of it would look really lovely. Maybe you want to add something more, some little eggs dangling from here. I don't know. Use your imagination. Just like I kind of had to use mine a little bit because I wanted to change it around a little bit. I didn't want the moss, you know, sticking out the back, etc. So that's why I used the felt, just to kind of keep it all in place. So I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up, and I hope that you too will give me a big old thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed and you like the content of my videos, go ahead and subscribe right down here with a little red button, and then you'll see a little bell. You go ahead and click that as well. I always choose all so that I get notified of all the videos the people that I've subscribed to have posted. So I'm going to ask you to do the same for me. It really helps me out because then I'll know that you'll be watching my videos. And please leave a kind comment down below. It doesn't matter what you say. Just, you know, be kind. You know, if you don't like it, that's fine. But just be kind, and so that we can all have a pleasant time. And we all want to see, you know, pleasant comments no matter what it is that you have to say. All right? Okay, so now if you have some suggestions of something different that you want to do to it, or, you know, maybe you have another idea for my can you arrange that video series, go ahead and drop that as well in the comments down below. I want to thank you all very much for watching. You have a super week, and as always, enjoy.